We are live, everybody. This is Leah, Ryan, and Loft Manager Richard. Breeding 101, Episode 3. Yes, we are an hour late. We got a new microphone, and we're trying to hook it up to make sure that everybody could hear us. So we're an hour late, but here we go. Ryan, take it away.
Leah, we're not an hour late. In some parts of the world, we could be an hour early. It's okay. We want you people to hear. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching this.
You're talking to the wrong camera, by the way.
Wrong camera, right camera. I got multiple cameras. Listen, we're learning. We're new. Hi, guys. Ryan, Pioneer Club. That's Loft Manager Richard. He's beside me. But what did I want to get you guys to do? When you're done watching this, go over to our YouTube channel, Feathers Elite Pigeon Auctions, and hit that subscribe link. That's it.
It seems like that camera's got to get turned.
Hello to Owen. Perfect. Owen is in the house. Thank you, Owen, for tuning in this evening.
Hey, Owen.
This is Breeding 101, Episode 3. We're going to talk about, what are we talking about today? Nest bowls?
Well, you know what? I think, Leah, on the our last broadcast, we had showed the plastic nest bowls, the tangerine nest bowls that we use. And we were talking about
tangerine boxes.
Tangerine boxes.
Yes. Not nest bowls.
Not nest bowls. Well, you
can't go and buy a tangerine nest bowl. Come on, man. Relax. Tangerine boxes.
He gets me nervously. I'm getting all shaky.
Believe it or not, they cheaped out. You can't get them anymore in the wood. Remember they used to have they had the wood thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now they make them with cardboard.
Boom.
And I don't.
Well, you know what though? This is kind of an interesting thing, Leah, because we did talk about the clay nest bowls wrapped in newspaper. And I know before we get into talking about this, Leah, was there some questions you had there already?
I just wanted to give a shout out to, I believe his name is Phil, on our YouTube channel. He's from the UK, and he did make a point that he said he does not breed unless his nest bowls are wrapped in newspaper. It seems to be a very big thing over in the UK to wrap in newspaper. And I think we kind of poo-pooed the idea on the last show. But after the last show, we read the comments, and I believe his name is Phil from the UK, said he would not breed unless the birds were wrapped in newspaper. So we thought, hey, why not give it a try, give it a whirl. Ryan wrapped some of the nest bowls in newspaper today, and we're going to show you in a video how we went about doing it. And we're going to do an experiment in our own loft to show you how the birds react to the nest bowls wrapped in newspaper, correct?
Yeah, we did 4 bowls. We're gonna put them out there. We're gonna see. We're gonna just sort of look from start to finish. We want to see the moisture. We want to look underneath the bowl. We want to see just how wet this gets. And maybe we're going to be wrong. We don't know, but we're going to test it out, and we're going to let you know.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I like the idea.
Okay.
Okay. I've heard that it eliminates lice and mites.
Okay.
I've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
But the other question, what do you add to that? Or do the birds, I just want to just go in on the newspaper and that's it?
No.
What do you do? What do you put in there?
What I gather is they wrap these bowls up. And you know what, Leah? Before we talk any more about this, I want you to just show that the little clip we did, a minute clip of how pretty simple these are to put together.
Okay, wait.
I mean, I'm a horrible Christmas wrapper. This shit was easy to do.
You didn't answer my question.
No, we're going to.
Is this the way the birds go in?
We're going to show the newspaper wrapping of the nest bowls, the procedure, so everybody knows how to do it. And then I think what we should do is discuss it.
Okay, let's take a look.
Let's see the pros and cons to it, because honestly, it's not something that we do, and not something that we see a whole lot of here in our area. And we want to talk about it. And do you wrap your bowls in newspaper? If you do, put your comments in the comment section below. Mike Vandriak, thanks for tuning in. Mike Vandriak says the young generation doesn't know what newspaper is. And you know what? Maybe that's the case. There's
good question.
There's not a whole lot of newspapers floating around nowadays. You get everything online. Andy
a good
Pereira
point.
says nest felts, which we are also a huge supporter of the nest felts. But Ryan took the time today to see how exactly difficult or non-difficult it is to wrap nest bowls in newspaper, and we're going to show right now the video. Now I'm going to show the video, so you and Loft Manager Richard be quiet while I show this, okay?
No
So
problem.
I'm going to show the video of Ryan wrapping and how to properly wrap the nest bowls in newspaper, and here we go.
Hey, hey, we are showing you today to turn this into this, a newspaper nest bowl, easy to clean. They say it cuts down on the lice, the mites, stuff like that. I know they're easy to clean. We're going to show you how to turn this into this, and I mean it is super easy. All you need is a couple sheets of newspaper. We're going to show you how. Let's turn the camera down to our work surface. So, first things first, 1 sheet of newspaper, 2 sheets of newspaper. And what you want to do is you want to give it an overlap, just like that. Put the nest bowl in the middle. Take these 2 overlapping sheets. Okay, fold it, push, 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 fold it, push. Push that all in. There is your first layer. Layer 1, there it is. Now, you can put as many layers in as you want. I recommend, highly recommend, you do 2. Here we go again, 2 sheets again. You see the overlap? This is how much you're overlapping. Give yourself a good overlap. Again, bowl somewhat into the middle. Again, put it in the middle. Overlap, push, overlap, push, overlap, push, overlap, push, overlap, push, overlap, push. Push it all out. Feel it going around. Press it in. Again, just like that. Your nest bowl's done. You don't need no tape, no nothing. Go around, press it out. Hey, make these months in advance, stack them in. You are ready to breed. Just a quick, simple, easy tip. Try it out. Thanks.
So there we go. There
Now-
we have how to wrap your nest bowls in newsprint. Andy Pereira says, I use newspaper and place the felts on top, a small amount of straw around the floor.
Okay.
So there you go. What are everybody else's thoughts on wrapping the nest bowls in newspaper? Post your comments below. Ryan, what do you think?
It was pretty easy to do. I want to see how it works in our damp conditions here. We get all different temperatures, dampness. I want to see how this paper is going to react. I know you can put a nest felt in here. I would probably, I guess, do that. Or we're going to leave these. I think we might put a nest felt in one of them, and the rest we're just going to let them make their nest in them. Obviously,
What's going to be the nesting material?
we're going to show that here in about a minute.
Okay.
We're going to bring that up.
Sorry.
But we're going to show you the nesting material here shortly, Leah. But again, I'm just going to let them build it and let's see how it does. Let's see how the bottom looks, right? When the babies are 10 days old, 12 days old, let's see how wet. We're going to feel it. We're going to open up the bowl. We're going to destroy it. We're going to look at it. Because again, I have never tried it, but you're never too old to learn something new. Now I know we were watching the video, and I know you were cringing there. So go ahead, fire away, Ricky.
Okay, number 1. I've had pigeons ever since I was a boy.
Right.
Let's have a little bit of humor here.
Right.
Do you mind humor?
Okay.
And nowadays, we can't find the newspapers like we used to.
It was tricky to find newspaper. It is.
But anybody that's over a certain age.
Right.
When I was 16, and I still have copies, I used to collect Playboy and Penthouse magazines. And I would use them if you wanted to. But I'm saying, I understand. I was told lice and mites, it helps knock that out.
Okay.
Like you say, you got to either put a nest pad in there, or
Now,
you're going to have straw or some materials that they can put in. Because if you just put it in like this,
it ain't gonna work.
no, the young ones, the eggs, number one, are going to roll around.
They're not talking about that. They
No, but-
put this in and then they put the nesting material out.
I
This is
think
for
I think the
someone
reason
just-
behind the newspaper is to easily be able to clean it out. I think.
And I'm gonna go. I mean, we keep going on about the lice and the mites and the this. If I need this to keep my birds lice and mite free, I'm sorry to say, my pigeons are not ready to breed, because if they're filthy and dirty like that,
If I need that to clean them out, I don't need it either.
that's it. But we're gonna
I can
try
argue
this.
too, right?
We're gonna try this out. We're gonna see how it works. Now, hey, this may be the best thing since sliced bread. Sliced bread is pretty good. Who would have ever thought slicing your bread? Look, it's a big seller. Do you buy sliced bread?
But you know what? If you don't slice it, it stays fresher.
True. So we're gonna
Okay,
find
I
out.
understand. Slicing
We're
is
going to
only
find
for
out.
someone.
No, you're 100% right, Richard. But we're going to. This is now going to be another experiment in our own loft that we're going to see what the benefit is of wrapping your nest bowls in newspaper. And
Right.
You're going to follow us along, and you're going to see how it works at the end of the season or between rounds, and we're going to let you know what we think, our opinion on it. Right?
Now, yeah, and you know what's amazing? We've went in the last day. We've like little squirrels in the woods. We did some foraging for nesting materials that we wanted to show, and these materials we either raked them up or cut them down when it was either pouring rain on them or snowing. And I mean
Snow.
snow. Well, we had some
Oh,
drizzle
you have
there.
to shake snow
Right.
off.
Shake snow off. Everything's soaking wet. And within literally a few short hours, these products are bone dry. Okay?
Now,
And
these are
the-
items that you found in the backyard, correct?
yeah, in the backyard, the neighbor's yard, in a field.
When I'm a pigeon man, I know what to look for. And the idea is aeration, number one.
Breathing.
Breathing, aeration. Number two, with aeration, you get dryness. Dryness is
Health.
is very healthy.
That's right.
It's like if you don't take the diaper off the baby,
He gets the rash.
he's going to get rash. He's
That's
going to
right.
start screaming. So keep things dry as can be. Mother Nature has created these products.
And this is one, again, we look at those plastic nest bowls. They have the holes in them. The clay ones here, they have holes in the bottom. Now, the thing that concerns me about this paper rolled nest bowl is, I know one thing: if I spit every 15 minutes, spit in that,
It'll be
in about half hour, she's soaked. Now, my youngster, he's pooping. That's the same as spitting. The bird's going to be sitting in wetness. Now, we're going to show.
the other thing too is
But before
Don't-
we get to that, I just want to add a comment here from Chris Withers, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Chris Withers lives in the UK. I might be wrong,
Hey,
but
Chris.
hey Chris. He says newspaper is just for ease of cleaning, and a handful of shavings on the bottom and tobacco stalks cut in half for the pigeon to build the nest. So that is Chris's theory
Okay.
behind why maybe it is he wraps his nest bowl in paper. Now, what do you guys have to say about that?
can I make a comment? Just from what I heard about what Chris said.
Sure.
Thanks for getting back, Chris. I think you're saying that. Did he not say that it was easy to clean the bowl?
Right.
Okay. When you put a handful of shavings in the bottom of the nest, shavings absorbs, but it also gives off an aroma,
Now,
which
Rem-
is not good for respiratory.
remember though, in the UK and that, what I've seen is it's a different shavings than we have here. We have those.
okay,
We
yeah.
have those real.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so we-
Chris, I think what Ryan and Richard are trying to say, in North America, we do have wood shavings, like you would call wood shavings, but they seem to be some sort of mass-produced, manufactured in a factory with chemicals type of shavings here, which we, as North Americans, do not want to put with our pigeons. Because of the chemicals, it gives up some sort of an aroma, some sort of a dust, which we have found produces respiratory.
Right, and that's I've seen the stuff they have in Europe. It's different. It's totally different. I haven't seen it here at all. And if that's what you're putting in the bottom is that little bit of the wood chips or whatever you call it, the shavings. You guys call it shavings. So I guess if you're having, I see a lot of people do it there. They're not having that problem.
What I seen was, they call it shavings.
Yeah.
Went to Belgium. It's like when they bark the trees.
Yeah.
They take the bark off.
It's different.
The outer part.
Yeah.
It's not like a
So
tree that's gone through a mill, and you get this
processed
dusty stuff. And a lot of pigeon men don't even know about this. Even in this country, they don't know about it. You go to a pigeon show where there's 2,000 birds in a building here, and they got shavings down in the show pens, and by the time you get out of there, guys, your nose, everything feels just like it's been stuffed.
It feels like you worked in a sawmill all day.
And I come out of there and I'm going,
100%.
Breathe,
That is why here in our showroom, when we put pigeons on display at Feathers Leap Pigeon Auctions, which we're also a part of, we absolutely never put pigeons on shavings because it is a big, dusty mess. And that's why we don't do it here, because maybe it's because of the shavings that we're getting. I don't know. But the shavings here in our parts that we can get are dusty and horrible. Now, I just want to make a comment here. Mike Vanderyak, thanks for tuning in. Mike says, Jim McGinnis told me he puts his nest bowls in the dishwasher.
Okay, well, you want to know what? A dishwasher, I mean, again, you can get as crazy as you want to clean. I just think if you put them in the dishwasher, put them in the bathtub, take them in the shower with you, what are we doing here? Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? Pigeons have been living for how many hundreds of thousands of years? They've been in dovecots, they live on the side of a bridge, they live on the side of a rock. Do they have a dishwasher ever? Wait, do you ever see the hens? You ever see the hens go down and fly down and get some Dawn soap, pump it, and scrub the nest bowls out? Guys.
They don't have nest bowls.
No,
what
they
are you
don't.
talking about?
They make their own. Right, and you want to know what? Those dovecots you see, and those pigeons that live in those barns or under those bridges, they're like steel. Why are they steel? Why are they steel? Because a pigeon is made of steel. They're not, pigeons aren't dishwasher safe. I wonder, here's a good question. Do you think, I'm going to use Jim's name, I think Mike said use Jim. I wonder if Jim puts his pigeons in the dishwasher. Isn't that something? Good way to get them clean, isn't it? I don't know. And you know what? We're not going down that road.
Joe Sacco says, I use sand in my nest bowls.
I think that's a very good idea, just from what I'm hearing.
Sand, what does it do?
It
breathes.
gives air. It breathes. And maybe brick sand is the best thing, not clay sand. Because clay sand turns into, you can make ashtrays with it, and pots. Once it gets wet, it gets sticky and all that shit.
Right. And getting back again, we're going to show a few things here. 2 of the 3 products.
I just want to get to the comments because we've got a whole bunch of them here before we get into nest products. Dave Ottaway says our shavings is plain and bandsaw dust mixed in. That's right, Dave. Our shavings here seem to be different than what Ryan and Richard have seen in lofts in Europe. I know for a fact. You guys said it's not the same shavings.
And you know what's funny? I'm going to be honest.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
The shavings in Europe, they say, I went in and said, what do you put your birds on? I have them on shavings. And they don't clean the lofts on the floor. They keep it there. Okay? Well, let me see. I don't know if you can see it. But the shavings are like this long.
Yeah, they're good.
They're
long.
like 6 inches long.
They're different lengths. And the other thing is, I found it's funny.
They call it
in Belgium and Holland. Some of the lofts we've been to, I haven't seen it at all. Okay, I seen it more when I went to the UK. I seen it. And again, it's just different. I guess different fads, different things they're doing.
If I can make a comment,
go ahead.
I knew a German fellow, top-notch flyer.
Right.
He was flying here in Canada.
Right.
In our area, And another fellow had a
Training trailer.
Yeah, let me finish. And was welcoming people to come on his trailer.
Right.
And we all showed up. There was probably 30 of us.
Mm-hmm.
We met at a spot.
To put the birds on.
Put the birds on. And the German fella said, and I learned something that day. He said, "Oh, I'm not putting my birds in that trailer." I said, "Why? Look, it's beautiful. It's brand new." The man had about 1.5 inches of sawdust shavings in the bottom of it, on the floor part. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, look, it's nice and clean. Everything
smells nice too."
Yeah. He said, "No, my birds will end up in respiratory problems. I will not put my birds." He took his basket and left. So,
we're not going to mention names, but we're going to say one thing: the man could flat out kick people's asses when he raced.
Oh, yeah,
and you know
100%.
what? And you know, again, you guys, we're just giving you things that we've learned through the years. And you know what? We've imported so many birds. I've seen birds come, even through the WestJet cargo. Guys pack them into shavings. Again, take your birds out of the shavings. Guys, please. If they could say something, I swear, the pigeon would say, "I don't want to be shipped on shavings. I don't like it. We don't like putting them on shavings." There's so many better things you can do.
I've got more comments and I just want to get to them because I love the interaction from the community. Thank you guys so much for doing this. It just makes it better. So Frank Eichhorn, thanks for tuning in, Mike. Frank, Happy New Year. Frank says, "I wrap my bowls in newspapers, then a nest pad, a few tobacco stems, and then I set them on top of a 12 by 12 grill I got in Europe. It stayed nice and dry, no wetness under the bowl."
Ah, okay. Like a floor grading?
Like a floor
That's
grading.
right. Yeah. We're going to show it in a later time. We also set our nest bowls for the second round. We used the roofing
Styrofoam.
The styrofoam, and they're about 3 inches thick, and it works good. But we're going to show that at a later time. We're going to try this out, and we're going to see.
And another comment, and I just don't want to interrupt, but I got lots of comments here. Joe Sacco says, "I soak my bowls in a bucket of water overnight and then rinse them like new."
Good. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Your loft has its immunity. I mean, our lofts there are healthy. As we said in the last show, we have bowls. Some bowls we haven't cleaned. Does that mean we're pigs? No. The loft is healthy. The loft is running good. I'm not worried about that. Now, again, if I'm going to have a bunch of people come over and you're going to look and say, "Oh, look, that's dirty and this is that."
If you don't mind me saying,
yep.
It sounds like you're making something to please yourself.
That's right.
Or another human being.
Right.
Okay? So that to me sounds good.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Does it make you feel better, or is it in fact better for the pigeons? That's
100%.
the question I think you have to ask yourself.
And you want to know what else was amazing that Leah pointed out? It was an interesting thing.
Or for what your neighbor might think.
Right.
Because
your fellow pigeon man that comes over.
In some areas here where people have birds in town, those pigeons, if the, what do you call it, the officer,
the bylaw
officer comes around, and those pigeons gotta be clean. And this has gotta be this, and it's gotta be that. That's not
what the pigeon asks for. That's not what the pigeon asks for.
Guess what? When I was a boy, I'm 68 now, and I can drop dead tomorrow.
Right.
But I've never been sick a day in my life. And guess what? When I was 4 or 5, I was out in the yard playing in the mud.
Yeah.
And I was eating my fingers dirty.
Right. And your sandwiches?
And Mother made me a sandwich. She said, "You don't have to wash your hands. Eat the sandwich." And guess what?
There you go.
I ain't never been sick, and I don't take flu shots. Maybe I'll be drop dead tomorrow. Okay, good. Well, perfect. But what I'm saying is,
this is what we're saying.
And I've seen so many people, "Johnny, wash your fingers. Johnny, don't touch that." And you know what?
100%.
The kids are sick all the time.
Well, there's no immunity, and this is what we're
And
saying.
This is what we're saying, and this is why we're doing the show, because we have Ryan, who is on the younger end of the spectrum in breeding and in pigeon fancier, and then we have Richard, who has been doing this a very long time, longer than Ryan and I have been alive. And there's just different perspectives, and this is what we're trying to bring to the table. And we want to have an open conversation with everybody to say, what do you do? What do you do? And there's no right or wrong, because as Ryan says, and as we say, our motto is there's many different ways to bake a cake. And what works for us might not work for you. And what works for you might not work for us. But we're open to all options. And this is an open forum to discuss all possibilities.
I remember it was a few years ago, Ryan.
Well, just before you,
maybe I gotta watch what I'm saying.
Let's leave that comment for now. Leah doesn't have any more comments, and we just want to show some of the message.
I have a lot of comments. I have a lot of comments. This is great. You guys are really being interactive, and we really do appreciate this. If I don't get to all the comments, I will in some way or another.
Hey, we're having a good time, all of us together.
Pigeon chat. This is good.
Pigeon chat.
You guys, you're in our home. You're in our loft here. We're talking about it. What are the comments, Leah? Let's keep going.
Let's keep going with the comments. Ian says the life expectancy, of a wild pigeon is 2 years. So I'm not sure if he's saying they're not doing something right because they only live so long. All I know is pigeons have been around for a very, very long time. They must be doing something right.
Well, hold on, though.
I'd like to ask that question.
Pigeons living only 2 years. Okay.
Where did you get that?
Okay, now hold on. That's a great figure. You know what? That's a pretty long time, eh? You got to think about it. In 2 years of living, let's take these pigeons and open the chute up. Let's let them all out. Okay? Let's cut all the feed. Let's cut all the water. And let's see who rises to the top. Let's see how many we have after 2 years. By the way, remember, wild pigeons, they're not spoon-fed. They have to live. They have to earn every inch of that life. That's the truth. And you want to know what? What is this called? This is spoon feeding, eh? Easy to clean. Good. We're going to try this. 2 years? I don't know.
2 years. I just can't. Wherever you got those stats, I don't.
And maybe it is true. But Leah, think about this. Audience, think about it.
I think the hawks pick them off.
Sure, the hawks pick them off. That's probably the number one thing. A raccoon goes in, you're done. You know, climbs up the beam and nails them. I don't know. But 2 years is still quite a long time for not having any human feeding. Nothing. I don't know.
I'll tell you
perhaps when you bring them in from the wild, which racing pigeons derive from the wild pigeon, when we domesticate them, as we do, we need to make altercation, we need to, you know what I mean. It's like,
okay, so
I have 2 dogs, which, were wild dogs at one point back in the day. And I feed them, and I have, I do lots of things for them. Would they be able to survive on their own? Probably not. Have we domesticated the racing pigeon to the point where we have to wrap nest bowls in newspaper? We have to give them nesting material. I don't know. That's a debate. That's a debate.
Do you want to know a fun question?
Ask Ian. Who did the study on this?
Well, here's a fun question. Here's a really good question. Let's go downtown in Toronto. Thousands of pigeons down there. Let's go up to Barrie. Let's go all over. And let's go look at wild pigeons. It's kind of funny. I only ever see wild pigeons. And I hear thousands of pigeon men, I lost all my young birds. I lost all my young birds. I lost all my young birds. They can't seem to make it in the wild, can they? You don't see places, pigeons with bands, everywhere it goes, pigeons with bands. I don't see that anywhere. But you know what I do see? I still see the wild pigeons, don't you?
Well, 2 years, I don't know.
Anyways, that's probably a debate for another show. However, it's a very good perspective. Yes, wild pigeons They have their hardships. Maybe some of them only last 2 years. Are we doing a disservice to them or a service to them by captivating them and putting them in captivation and doing all these things that we do? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that, but it's a very good point.
I'll tell you right now, I worked in the city a lot, downtown work, and I never seen, we call them plugs, barn plugs.
Wild pigeons.
Wild pigeons. I never seen them with head twisting or what do you call it?
The salmonella.
Paratyphoid, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I always like to look.
You ever see them with a canker lump in their mouth? Never.
No.
You want to know what? They go on the side of the road with the oil, and they're drinking the water. You see them at the transfer station, at the garbage dumps. They're eating beside the seagulls, and it's all sludge and mud. And you know what? Maybe the feathers are a little dirty, but boy, you still see the purple and the greens on the neck. You see those birds shine. I don't know. But that's for another day. We're not talking about that today.
Like, we're going to talk forever.
But it's never going to end.
We're going to have a great time.
We're having fun. You having fun yet? Leah, go on with your next question.
Okay, so we have a lot of comments, but let's get to our next topic, which is nesting material.
Okay,
right?
So
you want to talk about nesting material? Is that good?
We're going to talk about some of the nesting material we like, and I'm just going to hold that there. Some good, dry straw.
What are the? Wait a minute.
That's the dry straw.
Yeah.
Right here. Okay. We're going to give them this. Let them make their nests. We like to give this to them fresh, bone dry. Eh? It's nice. Boy, feels good. That's one.
And if you put the nest pads in, I don't like to put too much down on the floor.
Yeah.
Because, or in a section, in an area, because what will happen is sometimes they build a little too much.
Right. And you don't need to overdo it. Again, what do we got here, Ricky?
They're just weeds.
Just weeds. Cut them down. By the way, I cut these down at 1 o'clock today. They were soaked. It was snowing. Put your hand in there. Tell me how wet that is.
Bone dry.
Bone dry.
So maybe shall I put the video? Shall I put the video up of where you harvested that particular bucket of nesting material?
Yeah, I mean, if you want, it's not a big deal.
I'm going to throw it up just so you can see how easy it is to just scavenge your own front yard, backyard, the forest that is behind you. Go ahead, Dad.
Watch. Drive along the road. Yeah, you're right. That's all. We cut some out of our yard. You know
I'm going to show the video right now of where Ryan got that particular bucket of nesting material. I'm going to show it right now. Here we go.
Quick tip. Good nesting material, works great. Pigeons like it. This right here. Cut this into 6-inch pieces, break it off, cut it down, give it a little shake, get your snow or your water off it. Pigeons love it. Works super. It's easy, it's inexpensive. There's nesting material. If you look right on your property or around you, you will see stuff like this. And that's it right there. Dried. It's ready for nesting. Pigeons love it.
Now, and as you see, they're different sizes. Some are thin, some are thick. Thickness, you know, they're going to pick it up. We're going to use it.
Now listen. Bone dry.
And that was what outside. So this is
Mother Nature.
This is Mother Nature. This is number one. Our third, and again, I think this is the absolute. This is the cat's ass. This is the Cadillac. This is your Mercedes. Pine needles. These are.
Yes. Joe Sacco says, I use pine needles that I get under pine trees. And that right there is what Ryan is showing now. Yeah. Those are pine needles. Go ahead, Ryan.
They're super. They're the best. You're going to have no lice, no nothing with them.
Yeah, kills lice, mites.
They smell good. And you know what?
We have in our house, my wife has, we have a pine box.
Pine box.
Where she can put, you know, she put her wedding dress in there. And we survived, it'll be 49 years in June.
Okay.
And she put stuff like that in there. The wedding dress, stuff that, you know, there's no bugs, no moss.
Nothing.
Nothing will go in that for that pine box right?
There it is. And you know what? All you need is to find a pine tree, get out your rake, and remember, hey, what do we always say? Races, they're not one during racing season, are they? They're one in the off season. In the fall time, you can get these, go and rake them up.
Just see, I want to see how soft they are.
Feel it.
And
You would lay in this.
Holy mackerel.
You would lay in it. Oh, you would stand in it, you'd lay in it. It's
Show the
perfect.
guys.
And you know what? The birds make a great nest out of it. This is my
Now,
number
Mike
one pick.
Vanderyak says that he imports pine needles from Georgia. They're about 10 inches long, and they call it pine straw. And
Really
Dave Ottaway
nice.
says, I have tons of pine needles on my property, and he uses them as well.
So let me ask Dave Ottaway, what do you charge for a bag?
No. So
Coffee Mix Pigeon Loft. He's from the Philippines, and he says, nice nesting material, Ryan. Here in the Philippines, most of the fanciers are using sand and nesting materials. Now, you know, this is another thing that maybe I want to address. It really depends on what part of the world you live in and you're watching from. Because I imagine items that are available to us here in Canada are different than what you'd be able to find in maybe Australia or Africa or the Philippines. So I think what
Leah?
we're saying is what works best for you in the environment in which you live.
Just wait,
Right.
I have a question for Leah.
Sure.
In this discussion, I've heard a few people getting pine needles, and I've heard a few people talking about sand.
Sand.
And I told you, in my loft, I put about 1.5 to 2 inches at the start on the floor of my loft of brick sand. If I can't buy the granules from Versalaga,
Right.
okay, I use brick sand. I can't find peanut shells, and it's very hard to get corn husks off the farmer behind his tractor,
Right.
because you can't get it.
Right.
Okay, so I put 1.5 to 2 inches of brick sand, and this fellow here said sand. Another fellow said sand in the bottom of his nest bowls. It irrigates the bowl.
You know what?
And the other thing is your pine needles. It's the same thing. And this may sound stupid, but some people say, well, where do I get a bag? Where do I get straw? I mean, where's a farmer that has straw? Take a drive in your car, go down the side of the road, and find a lot of dead. Growing up
And remember,
weeds.
bring a garbage bag. You're going to cut it, put it in.
You
It'll
gotta-
be wet. And you want to know
Get
what?
one of those, what do you call it, the hedge
Cutters, cut it
the
down.
hand ones.
And these are all good ideas. You know what I think we are going to try? We are, just for fun, we're going to get some brick sand. We'll try 2 bowls with brick sand too. We'll do it for fun.
I never tried that.
We never tried it. We're going to try it. We're going to try this out. We're going to try a few things. And you guys are going to follow us along this fun.
And
little experiment.
see what the pigeons prefer. Now, I have a question from Phil. Thanks for tuning in, Phil. Phil says, any idea if the birds prefer a material based on what they were raised on?
Ooh.
Well,
Good. No, I don't think so.
I don't think.
The pigeon's smart.
You know, though, I have noticed.
Listen.
The hen's talking here. One of our guests is talking. But anyways, I got my one camera's getting low.
Low battery, yeah.
I'm going to plug it in here in a second. Before I forget, I have noticed that if you have a pair of pigeons that raises babies on the floor,
Youngsters?
youngsters, youngsters, my correction there, that I do find the youngsters, when they grow up, you'll see they like to nest on the floor. I've noticed that before. I don't know, Richard, if you have. I'm just going to plug my other charger in here, Leah.
What do you think, Richard? And also, I have another question from Shaquille when you finish answering that one.
I think raising young ones on the floor. And you're going to feed your.
I think what Phil was asking is if, I guess maybe you raise youngsters in a certain material, will they gravitate towards that when maybe they're ready to breed. I hope I interpreted that question correctly, but I think that's what he's saying. Like, do you train them to, like, if you started them off in, let's just say, straw, then when they breed, will they gravitate towards the straw? I think that's what he's asking.
I think pigeons know what's good for them. It's like saying, I'm feeding, I put sulfur salt, I put salt down, I put all-in-one grit down, I put oyster shell down. The pigeons know what's good for them.
Hey, we seem to forget.
So in young ones on the floor, you know, excuse me, getting back to what I said last show or 2 shows ago, a young one on the floor, and you feed all your other birds on the floor, right?
He's always watching.
He's always watching. He's always watching. He watches the older birds eat, and he's looking and he's learning. He watches them go for a drink. He becomes a very smart young one. Okay,
and,
you know.
And again,
it's so funny. You could have a pair of young ones raised in that corner on the floor, or you put up a teepee.
Right.
We call it, like, you say, well, this cock, he's going in the corner with the hen. Okay, he just doesn't want to go in a box.
Right. He's stubborn.
I put up a little teepee for him.
Yeah.
Right. And those young ones that are hatched, raised in that teepee on the floor, they start coming out and they start, you know, they look, they can see, they watch the other ones eat. It's so funny because you guys probably know you could put a different pair of young ones that are raised in a box, put them on the floor, they'll get automatically scalped. The other birds, they know it. Like, you know what I'm saying? What are you doing
your
there?
opinion is, yes, they will gravitate towards what they were raised in, or no, they will pick what's best for them?
I think they'll pick what's best for them. You know, when they're on the floor, let's say, and they're in dry litter, they'll make a little thing on the floor. And
here's the thing. Let's take a human being. Let's drive him 600. Let's put him in the dark. Or let's just put them in a dingy area. Drive them 500 miles, drop them out in the bush, say, let's find your way home. And by the way, you got to find your way home at 50 miles or 40 miles or 30 miles an hour.
Right.
Kind of funny, eh? The pigeon has a lot of common sense. He's a lot smarter than us people think. Now, Leah, I'm trying to get this camera shut off.
Don't worry about it. I have another question while you're trying to figure that out, Phil. I hope that kind of helped. I'm not sure if it did, but I think what we're saying is at the end of the day, the pigeons know best, and they have their own natural instincts to pick up on. I think that's what we're trying to say. Shaquille,
you don't have to.
Go ahead.
Leah, if you don't mind me saying, you have to say the pigeons know what's best. But how come if you've got 40 boxes or 20 boxes in an area for your old birds, why is it that there's 1 or 2 pair? They just want to go on the floor. They want to go in the corner. And is that, so are those the 2 pigeons that know best, or are the rest of them dummies?
I don't know.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Maybe it's just what works best for them.
It's what they feel.
It's what they feel.
That's
Maybe
right.
it's what they feel. I don't know.
Some people like to live in a bungalow, and some people like to live in a high-rise.
That's right. It's all what
I don't know.
And these are questions we can never ask the pigeon. Leah, another question.
Shaquille asked, and this is kind of off topic, but I do want to answer it because I think it's important. Shaquille asked, where will I get the white powder you use to paint inside your loft?
You'll have to come over to the coop, and we can help you out with that.
It's a lime wash. It's a lime wash.
It's a lime wash.
We do have a video on YouTube where we do show how we mix the lime wash and paint it in the loft. If you shoot us a message on our Pioneer page, I can send you the link to it so you can see exactly the ratio and what we use. I'm fine to do that. Just shoot me a message because I will forget.
It's very good.
It is good. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we're good with the whole Are we good with the nesting?
We're moving on from nesting?
I think we're going to
Okay.
move on from nesting, unless anybody has any questions, which I will address if they come up. We are going to do that experiment where we leave certain piles of nesting material in the aviary, right?
Yep.
And we're going to broadcast and show what they decide that they want to build their nests with, so you guys can have a look and see which they prefer. I think that'll be fun. We're going to do that. And stay tuned to the end of the broadcast, folks, because we're going to do a draw based on last episode's questions and comments. We've put everybody's name in a barrel. Whoever commented and made a question, we're going to draw the name at the end, and somebody is going to win a Pigeon Boss hat, by the way.
Excuse me.
Dave Crozier's in the house. Thanks, Dave, for tuning in. You want to talk about easy winter drinker maintenance now, Ryan?
Yeah, we can talk about that. I know we have a lot of people that come to the store here, and the big complaint is wintertime, drinkers freezing, people want to put heaters in them and things like that.
If I could say something else, I'm just going to butt into you.
Okay.
We're pretty well, a lot of people know a lot about keeping pigeons. But some of the newer pigeon keepers, they have a section and they have an open bowl or a dish or
a bowl,
something you might have in the sink at home,
or a cereal bowl.
Cereal
I've
bowl.
seen them with cereal bowls. Yes,
and they put it in they're all good intent.
Right.
They put it in their section and they take out some water and they fill it up. And the pigeons get in there, and number one, they think it's bath time. Where I always bathe in a settling aviary outside with a wire bottom.
But they don't know that.
No. So this is part of an education, which this is the same, right? And the other thing too is the pigeons start droppings going in. It's not good. When they fly down to this bowl, there's some turn up on the floor. It lands in there, right? So that's, some people don't understand or don't realize it. So what I think Ryan wants to show people, and we're not talking about guys that have been flying pigeons for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, or 80 years. By that time, guys, we're all ready for the either white smock or the silk blue smock. Okay,
that's right.
So by the time you've been flying pigeons for 60 years, guess what, boys? We're doctors. Doctors in the game. But this is for guys that they didn't know or they didn't learn.
But you know what?
Right?
Doctors are not. You've had pigeons 60 years. Guess what?
I'm still learning.
No, but hey, you use the same technique in the winter.
Well, I do.
You don't use the torpedoes in the winter. Now, getting back to this, Leah, you have that video. We're going to show the video. Richard, watch your monitor. Enjoy it.
I'm going to show the video of a very simple, easy solution to winter freezing drinkers. Here we go.
Hey guys, here's a good little tip if you live in the snow in the winter and it freezes. A cheap drinker that doesn't cost you any money, easy to pop out with ice. They work great. So here's just a little, that's the size of it. I mean, about the size of your hand. Okay, it comes with a lid. I never use the lids. I always put a little piece of plywood over that overhangs. We'll show that. Draw your mark, and again, I always like to put about a finger up. Okay, bird's necks reach pretty good. I like to make my hole small, and I will just come along here. Okay, I come in here. Again, watch your fingers. You're just gonna cut, and again, you don't have to make the hole perfect. You can always clean it up when you're done. Okay, just be careful. Boom, just like that. So there's your hole. Your fingers fit in, there's no problems. Okay, again, like I say, you can come around and clean the hole up a bit if you want. Okay, there you go. Now, like I said, You use a lid like this, the birds will sit on it, and if they do crap can go in. I like to put a piece of plywood that overhangs with a little block or a brick on top so they can't knock it over. This way the bird can sit on it, it's fine. Any droppings are over the front, birds can't get in. I normally put one hole in. I don't add multiple holes, forget it. One hole keeps your drinker clean. Birds can reach at it. We're gonna freeze it and pop it out in a bit. Thanks for flying with us, guys. Bye for now.
I'll show that in a second.
So there we go.
Okay, there you go. There's your plywood, and again, it's like a baseball cap. It covers over, no droppings. A bird can sit on it. It's not a big deal. Not a problem at all. These work great. You know what? You can pop ice out of them all winter long. If it breaks, it's not a big deal. Didn't cost you any money. You know what? You got a tub of ice cream. You get a pail. We also have another video, Leah. I believe I sent you it as well, of a drinker outside. Is that correct?
Yes, but I just want to get to the comments.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of comments, which is fantastic, guys. Let's see here. Okay, so Owen, let's start with the comments. Owen says, I switched my water to a rubber dish because it gets really cold here and it cracks the plastic.
Okay. A
So
dish.
Pardon?
A dish. And a rubber dish. Okay, Owen, great idea. You have a rubber dish. You need to use a rubber dish. So what I want you to make is take a pail, go over it the other way, and cut out a notch in the front.
Hole, yeah.
A hole. So the pail goes over the dish. The rubber dish holds the water. The droppings don't come in. The bird can put its head through and have a drink. And again, on top of that pail, I would put a piece of plywood over it with a nice heavy block. So the birds land on it, it's fine. A brick, a block, whatever you want to use.
Blocks are heavy, man.
Blocks are heavy. Well, hey, I don't know what kind of birds Owen has up north. I'm just giving you a tip, right?
Well,
if it was chickens,
okay.
I'd say you use a block.
Let me ask you a question. Why do you not just leave an open bowl or dish on the floor for them to drink out of? Why is that?
I just told you. The birds, you put an open dish in there, a bowl. Next thing you know, so-and-so, number 1999, he wants to have a bath on Monday. Number 2021, he wants to have a bath on Tuesday. We go on and on. Next thing you know, your floor is constantly soaked.
Right.
And the other thing, the crap in there. It's
can I ask you a question? When you empty your drinkers out,
yeah,
using these little pails that we use with the lids, can I ask you a question? Would you drink the water when you're going to pour it out, or the ice cube? You'd use it in your drink.
I'll drink it.
You'd use the ice, because why? The drinker should be pretty much as clean when you put the water in is when you take the water out or the ice block out. If you're finding lots of shit in your drinkers, not good.
No, I don't.
Not good.
I don't know if you showed people how.
Yeah,
how you elevate.
We're going to show that in the next clip.
Right.
Leah?
I've got questions.
We got more questions. Before we move on to the next
do we ever get a commercial break or some kind of break?
No.
There's no break for us, Ricky.
Okay, wait.
I told you, make a larger drink.
I don't have my Depends on.
Always come with a larger drink. We need a bartender here. Anyways, go ahead,
Okay.
Leah. What's your questions?
Eldon has a question, and he says, hi, gentlemen. Question for you. What's your thoughts on pairing late breds that you know nothing about? What would you look for to breeding a good racer?
Hey, you want to know what, Leah? We can get into that. We've got the Seagull here with us.
Yeah, I'm gonna, yeah, okay. You know, there's so much. I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to break in with you, but I'm going to let you talk, and then I'll talk after.
No, late breds are those free little gifts, and you breed them, and you have them, and you go, well, why did I breed them? Or you know, you took some, and you've got an opportunity. You know what? Those are free little opportunities that you're going to get an opportunity to try and breed. Now, you haven't seen how they've raced. That's okay. That's like going to an auction and buying a pigeon. That's what it is. It's the same thing, but it's your late bred.
A lot of times a late bred comes off of super flying birds, if you're flying old birds, late breds come off of your best birds, right? So
Or off of guys like best.
I have 10 late breds out here right now.
Right.
I don't want to sell them.
Right.
But you'll get goosebumps when you handle them. Okay,
they're what you like. That's right. And again, like we talk about, we're going to show the Seagull, not yet, but the Seagull was a late bred.
He was a late bred.
And boy, he was a super pigeon. And that whole year, I think that's the only pigeon we still have from that year. Right?
Probably.
From 2009. Yeah. That's a super pigeon.
Who was that other pigeon there we had? We called him the Dragon.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about the Dragon, Ricky. But not now.
He was stocked.
He was bred for stock right off, and he just bred.
He wasn't bred for stock. He was a late bred.
A late bred, yes.
And you said, and I don't even think I banded him, did I?
You did. You banded him. Yeah.
And you said, let's get rid of him.
And you said keep him.
I said no. This is a darn good pigeon.
Yeah, that's right.
And what happened? One day we had him 3 or 4 years.
He bred super pigeons, and what took him? The good old weasel. That's how we lost him.
Was it?
Yeah. Okay, Leah, go with your questions.
Guido Madrusen, thanks for tuning in. He has a question with regards to the whitewash. He says, not a question, more of a statement or comment. He says, if your loft is healthy, leave it the way it is. Don't disturb the perfect balance. Forget the whitewash, etc. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think Guido is 100% right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we use the whitewash in the loft, in the Pioneer loft,
the one
where
loft.
New birds are coming in.
And we use it in our quarantine loft. Quarantine lofts.
Yeah, quarantine lofts.
Mm-hmm.
But
you don't use it in your own loft, do you, Doug?
No. I think exactly what Guido says, it's right. And I think, why would you disturb the what do you call it?
The loft.
The immunity.
The immunity
in
of
the loft.
The balance of the loft.
The balance
right.
of that loft. And I think he's 100% right.
I agree. I agree 150%.
And you know, I heard so many times guys saying, well, I think I'm going to start breeding. I'm going to put my birds together next week. And I'm going to go in the loft. And now I'm going to scrape it down. I'm going to get Lysol. I'm going to get Pine Sol. I'm going to get all this shit. I'm going to spray it in. So I'm going to totally neutralize this thing. That to me, why would you all of a sudden change the system like that?
I wouldn't do it.
You won't do it.
And again, with our one loft and our quarantines that we do when we import birds, there's a certain code that we have to follow, and that's what we do. In our own loft, like in the little barn or the Twisted Sister, we don't mess with it. They're healthy. They're strong, aren't they? And if we bring in a bird, some birds we have brought in, they don't take a step backwards. Some birds come in and they fall apart. They crumble like dust. We've seen it. And you know what? It's just your loft immunity. Some birds can hack it. Some birds can't hack it. But I agree with Guido.
So I think
in your own loft,
when you see us whitewashing or lime washing the loft, it is because of a one loft race situation. Perhaps for a new loft starting out, and you're bringing in a bunch of birds from different fanciers. That might be a good reason to lime wash the walls. In what other good instances would you say you need to whitewash or lime wash the walls or the little cubby holes of the loft? That's really the only reasons, right?
Yeah, I think pretty much it. Are you gonna white lime wash your other loft this year? No, you're gonna let it run. It's run good for how many years? There's no problems. And are we gonna have some babies that maybe can't hack it or something this way that way? Yeah.
I'm just gonna say I wanted to say before. I remember some years ago that we all change or listen and think. Ryan said to me, it was probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Could have been 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I got my loft there that I built in 1972.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was 71. And I'm in dry litter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to me, Dad, we're going to have to get all this dry litter out. Out it comes. We're taking it right down to the plywood, and that's it. And we put wood shavings in.
We tried it.
Remember, he said, we're going to put wood shavings in, and this is going to be the way it's going to be. Everything's going to be cozy. I said, oh, first of all, I didn't like it.
You didn't like it.
You're taking all that dry
Good.
stuff out.
Mm-hmm. How long did we have that in for?
God, I don't think
shavings.
we had it in for 2 weeks, and all the birds started getting respiratory. I'm just saying.
And you know what we did?
How,
You know how quickly? What did we do?
like Guido said, we don't change.
We pulled it out. We pulled it out. We went into the stock loft, right? And we went and we shoveled out dry litter. We put back in the loft dry litter. Now get a load of this one.
100%.
We had respiratory products that we could have used. We could have. We put the birds in back on the dry litter. Within 3 days, we didn't give them anything. Respiratory cleaned itself right up. That's it. Done. And you know what? After that, and going through other lofts in Europe, and I see how guys handle it. Some are overly cleaning, but a lot of them, they like to keep the loft the way the loft is. And it just, it's hard to explain, but
it's a natural immunity. It's a natural, and it's like, just think about your house. Your house has your own smells, your own bacteria, your own, you see, if you're home, you're not going to get sick, right? It's very, very unlikely that you're going to get a cold or the cough or the flu if you just stay in your own little bubble. And I think it's the little bubble that you create for the pigeons in their loft, in their own immunity. They're breathing in their own bacteria, their own germs, their own dust. They get used to it. They acclimate to it. And once you have a good system going, you don't need to mess with it. Like Chris says, don't fix it if it isn't broken. And I think what Ryan and Richard has said is they tried it. They tried scraping out all the dry litter, putting shavings or putting whatever, and it didn't work for them. This is very much a science experiment and very much trial and error, what I've seen with lofts, and you have to just kind of get in your own groove.
that's right.
Right?
So
we're not giving you tips and tricks to be like, you need to change everything you're doing. You need to, no, we're just saying what has worked for us and maybe some tips and tricks with the rest of the community to say, maybe try this, maybe try that. Not drastic.
Right, and that's what we're saying.
Yeah, no, I need a station break.
And that, just take that off. It's fine. Go do what you have to do. And that's what we're saying. We're not going to put every bird in this, every pair. We're going to try a couple. I want to try it out. I just want to see what it's about. Am I changing everything? No, I'm just doing a little tweak here. I'm going to find out for myself.
And this is another thing that I've heard around the block is Phil says, I've heard of guys who bring in dry litter from a canker-free loft, and they bring that dry litter into their own loft to boost their immunity. Have you tried that, or what do you think about that?
Well, okay, and this is a fun thing. I remember growing up, quick story, we would go to the local young bird auctions in the springtime, and I would be 10 or 11 or 12, whatever. And, I'd look and I'd say, oh, Dad, I want to buy the red checker there or the pied or whatever. And you always pick the birds that you like, and you maybe buy 2 or 3 and you bring them home. And you put them into my dad's loft full of dry litter. This much, 6 inches, a foot dry litter. And these birds are nice and healthy. They look great. They're from good fanciers, right? And you'd have to wait about 2.5 to 3 weeks. Some handled the dry litter no problem, and others, they couldn't take that loft immunity. And that loft immunity, it's what it is. It's there for a reason. It helps those birds build their immunities for that loft. And you'll see that, and that's what we're saying. was it Chris that said he brought in dry litter from someone else's loft to build up his immunity?
Yeah, that was Phil. But I've
Phil,
heard it
sorry.
from other people. But that's a whole nother show where we can talk about bringing in birds from other people's lofts and how to acclimate them into your own loft successfully without problems. That's a whole nother hoop to jump through, is it not?
Another big hoop, and there's no such thing as there's no guarantees, right?
Well, and I think another thing people have to realize, you're dealing with living, breathing things. You're not dealing with a toaster where you can just plug it in and it's going to work. You're dealing with living, breathing things. And I think a lot of people forget that. Like, they just think, oh, well, I'm just going to bring the bird home, stick it in my loft, and it's going to produce miracles.
Yeah.
They're living, breathing things. And
That's right.
Just as I can be alive today and dead tomorrow, or, whatever, you have to realize they're not machines, they're not electronics, they're living, breathing things. And
That's right.
stress has a huge part in how the pigeon acclimates into your loft, into your setting, into your environment. And I just think people don't take that into consideration. They just think, oh, well, I bought it and I spent $500 or $200 or $25 on it. I should be able to bring it home, shove it in my loft, pair it up with a hen, and away we go. That's not how it works.
That's correct.
That's just my opinion. Let's just talk very briefly before Dad comes back about the weasel. The weasel we had on episode 2. The weasel on episode 2. It was in a live cage. We didn't hurt it. We didn't do anything to it. It had feed. It was perfectly fine. We brought it on camera. The next morning, my dad checked it. It was dead in the crate.
Yeah, it just couldn't handle the stress of being caught, and you've got these things twisted backwards. Again, Ricky audio, but yeah.
But that is to show how stress kills animals. Right. That weasel didn't know where he was. He was very stressed out. Even though he had access to food, he could eat, he was protected, he still couldn't take the stress and unfortunately passed away the next morning without any priding, nothing from us.
Oh, that's it.
He had food in there. He ate half of it.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. Stress.
Yeah.
Stress is the devil for animals.
Stress is the devil for animals as well as for pigeons and
people.
We will probably dedicate another show to how to acclimate new pigeons into that you've purchased or somebody gave you, a friend gave you, or whatever, into your loft successfully without, having a fail rate.
Yeah, that's right. 100%. I'm just...
Okay, so...
It's hard to introduce new birds into your loft.
Well, we were talking...
Because, again, you have your immunity.
We were talking about, like, when I was a kid, we'd go and buy birds at the young bird sale to bring home with the dry litter.
Yeah.
And you'd always say, 2 to 3 weeks, what would happen? Some would make it, some wouldn't. And it was that dry litter immunity. This was way before one loft racing, okay? And again, with the one loft, we like to start, we're going to start this year with that Pioneer. They're going to start on a fresh loft of granules, Versalaga granules. We're going to whitewash the section down. We're going to start fresh. But once we go in there once with it, are we going to mess with it? No. We let the loft build. The birds that are going to hack it are going to hack it. The birds that aren't, that's it. They don't hack it. You have to let that loft build its immunity, and it takes time to build it.
And like Frank Eichhorn says, stress is a big thing with young bird losses. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, another thing we're going to get into later on in our episodes, as we progress here, we're going to talk about young bird losses and stress with young birds, and you're going to follow us along. And we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
I'd like to say there's a community here of knowledge.
That's right.
Okay,
That's what we're doing.
For the young flyers, try and pick up some of the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it takes years to pick that up.
And that's what you're getting here. That's what we're putting out. Also, Leah, again, we were talking about this drinker, and I know it's small, it's petty. Did you want me to show the other torpedo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got lots of people tuned in, and people are enjoying it. So let's just show that there.
Now this here, it's a 1/2-inch sheet of plywood. It's square. Okay. We cut it about the size of a milk crate or a pop crate, so we can sit on top of it. If we don't want to use these prongs that we put through, okay, we can flip it over, put that onto the pop.
Fits right in.
Fits right into those holes, and nice wood.
We can put a larger drinker
on. But what we're showing you here with these prongs is a drinker we like to use as well. Again,
maybe should I show the video?
Yeah, show that video.
I'm going to show the video. I'll show the video of that little gadget there that we've built so you guys can see it. Here we go.
Here is another section. As you see, pop crate, milk crate, that's off the ground. You see these prongs on here? Look at them, they look like they could hurt. We got a piece of plywood, right? Look how thick it is, 1/2-inch plywood. Put it on top of your pop crate. If you want to use a small torpedo drinker, this is your 1 liter, very small. Okay, perfect. Put her into the grooves. Now, the birds cannot knock this over. It holds it. It holds it tight. Another inexpensive way, water about 20 pigeons a day with this. No problems, fill them up. Great for medications. If you got a small group of pigeons, they thaw real easy. If they break, they're not overly expensive. Anywhere probably from $5 to $7, depending on where you buy from. We sell them $6 each. Another good winter tip, good medication tip right here. Under 25 birds, 25 birds. This drinker will do you per day perfectly. Thumbs up.
There you go. So that's another drinker setup. Why is that important that they don't knock it over? Obviously, because then they don't have any water.
All right, this drinker here, okay, full or not, it's not very. Look at it, Leah. You just top it, right?
You know what happens in the section if you put that on top of your milk crate?
Cockbird lands on
and
it.
all of a sudden,
they pump it.
The guy goes whoop.
Yeah, we get that. Now, the same thing. Well, they understand it.
Right.
Now look. Is it moving?
Yeah, and the other thing, guys, is we'll say, I don't need this. I'm going to put that on. Don't put it on the floor because you get some dust, comes in and goes in. Put it on like a milk crate or a pop crate like this. Don't set it up 4 feet off the ground, right?
Look, is it holding it?
But some people might think, well, I don't need to do this. I'm going to put this on a box, milk crate, and I'm going to put a rope up to the ceiling. Well, I know a few times in my life, I had a bird hung himself on a bungee cord, and I know other guys say, I said to him, how's that good cock you're doing, you have? Oh, he commits suicide.
He hung himself in the loft.
He hung himself on, he had a string from a light switch
Yep,
hanging down. And for some reason the bird flew and got the string caught around his neck. He hung himself. So that's another thing that you have to learn. You don't want to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good.
And this is why we do this.
Right.
Now, we don't need to do this with the 6 liters or the 3 liters, but these little 1 liters, they're great. If you have medications and you're feeding and you're watering under 20 birds or 15 birds, and it says, hey, 1 little teaspoon per liter, this is great. And what's great about this is you make these, right? Like we say, when they're done, flip them over, put them into your milk crate, They sit in nice flat surface for your bigger drinkers. Your bigger drinker, look. Bigger drinker sits good.
Yeah.
And you know what? If these freeze rock solid,
Yeah.
right? 2 of these for $12 from us.
Yeah.
But hold on.
Okay.
Drop them in the hot water in a bucket. They thaw out in minutes.
The other thing I'm going to say is get 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Even better.
You learn how much your birds will drink. Okay. So I'm not going to fill this right up to the top because my 20 birds, I've learned my 20 birds will only drink this. I fill it this much, halfway. My 20 birds, they drink that. Now I go next day, it's a little bit frozen. Either I can take a bucket of hot water, and if I don't want to get 2 of them, and sink it in, and thaws out in about a second, or I have 2 of them. I take the
frozen one into the house?
The frozen one I take into the house. The other one, I just put it in, that's it.
And again, we are going to talk. People say these little holes here, oh, they're too small. You can't get a rag in and clean them. If you really want to clean this, it's not very hard. Toilet brush.
Yeah.
Toilet brush, a baby bottle cleaner brush.
Yeah. Brush.
Would
Real
work in
simple.
that.
Real simple.
We have a lot of comments and questions, so I'm just going to get to them here right now.
Okay, so Leah, is
Glenn
this going to be an all-night show?
It might be.
Go.
Glenn
We like
Thornley. Glenn Thornley says, thanks for the advice on the use of the LED lights last week. I immediately changed out the incandescent bulbs and now having better results with cocks driving the hens to the nests. Perfect.
Hey, that's good. Hey, listen, we made the mistake. I've seen lots of people make the mistake. Good thing you made your switch. Again, if you're going to lighten the pigeons for anything, you now know the right bulbs to use. Good job on that one. What else you got, Leah?
We have from Guido, and I think he's responding to Chris, but I'd like to address it. Guido says, I keep my lofts clean, the same reason I don't keep my horses in their manure, my dogs among their excrements, or myself in the middle of crap. Why do we feel pigeons should be different? Okay, so I'm not quite sure if that's a comment with regards to the dry litter.
I want to answer this question. I understand what you're saying, Guido. You don't want to keep the horses in their droppings, the dogs in their droppings. But we're talking a different chemistry and materials. We're talking dry litter. We're not talking about walking through your feces in the bathroom. This is dry pigeon litter. And if you don't know anything about it, come and visit me and I will give you a tour on it.
Well,
okay. So I understand what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same, what he's saying is, like one person asked before, why shouldn't I put a bowl in the middle of my loft and just put water in it? Because the floor becomes soaked. It becomes muck. And the worst thing is wet muck. And when a horse pees, it's wet. And when a dog craps, it's wet.
Right.
We're not talking about I understand what he's saying, but he doesn't realize what I'm saying. I can show you 2 feet of pigeon dry litter, my friend. And boy, watch, I'm telling you, you don't know what dry litter is. You could spit on that dry litter, it's dry in 2 seconds.
Listen, I will attest to this. In dry litter this deep, I've had numerous times a drinker like this slip out of my hands. You will not believe this. Slip out, boom, hit the ground. Half of it goes onto the ground in the dry litter. And you go, oh shit, it's going to be soaked. But no, you want to know what? I'm not joking. Took my boot, took the rake, raked it, moved it. Within about within about a minute, I'm not shitting you. The damn section, the thing, bone dry. Sucked it right up. But if you've never experienced true dry litter, you go to some guy's place and they got this much down, or they clean the loft once a week.
That's not dry litter.
That's not dry litter. You have to experience real dry litter.
I've had in a section where it's open and we get a snowstorm.
Yes.
Okay? You might say I'm getting lazy, right?
Yep.
And I got the half-inch cube wire.
Yep.
And the darn snow was just, holy mackerel. For some reason, so much came in. I'm going, oh. 2 days later,
Not even.
bone dry.
Bone dry. Half a day later, bone dry. It's different. I don't know. You have to experience real dry litter to see it. It's not. It's like box perches. I don't like the pigeons in wet box perches. If they crap in the nest box, they scrape it out once or twice a day. I like to keep the nest box dry that way. If you just leave it, it piles up. Everything then gets wet. That's not good. Dry litter on the floor, I think it's the best.
Guido's got a good point.
Yeah, it is.
That's a very good point.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, the dog pen's got to get cleaned. You can't keep dogs like that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, you can't keep horses like that.
Absolutely not.
But you can keep pigeons like that. I'm not saying if you scrape your floor out and then tomorrow you don't scrape it, or those boxes you're talking about.
You don't scrape them.
There's just a pile of wet
shit
going in there.
That's horrible.
Oh yeah, everything gets
Yeah.
wet. But if you put that 1.5 to 2 inches of brick sand or those granules, or
that's right. What we're talking about,
right? And create a culture in there, it works. And anybody says I'm full of
shit,
I'm going to tell you right now, boys.
He's not.
You never done it before.
How long, Dad, have you been on the dry litter system?
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. I used to scrape my pigeons out in the morning and at night.
How long ago was that?
That was
before us, Leah.
49 years ago.
Before us, Leah. Before us.
Well,
before us, so that will give you a good indication of how old Ryan and I are.
Well, what happened 49 years ago, I got married, and I built this loft. I built my loft. Was it 1971? And I thought, this is prior to that. I had pigeons on dry litter.
Okay, so you started off. Okay,
so then I thought, I'm going to build this nice loft down here. And I thought, I want to keep this darn thing clean, boy.
Right. So you started cleaning.
So I started cleaning. And I was out there at Sunday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. My wife was out sleeping.
Right.
And she could hear. And she said, what are you, crazy? You're out there at this time of morning. You're doing this. And I said, well, I got to do it. And then I would do it in the afternoon.
Right.
And she said, why aren't you sitting with me on the patio?
Yeah.
I'm, here. You're out there cleaning the pigeon loft again. And it was just a pain in my ear.
Pain in your ear.
And then one time, one guy said to me, one fella, he said, I use dry litter. He said, take about 1.5 to 2 inches of brick sand, not clay. Right. Put her down. So that was what, in about 1979 or 80, let's say. No. It was, I got married in 72. So it was about 1973.
1970. I mean, he did about a year again, yelled at, and then he decided to switch to dry litter.
So, believe it or not, guys, you're going to think I'm joking. But I didn't clean any of that litter off till about, 10 or 15 years ago, and that one off.
Yeah.
That you said.
Yeah, all he would do, he would reduce.
I had the loft inside where I could walk through the sections as a young boy.
Yeah.
Then I had to duck between the sections. I had about this much.
Yeah.
2.5 feet of dry litter.
Yeah, that's right. But that's the truth.
No, but that's the truth, and this is
Right.
what we're trying. This is a community of sharing experiences and sharing what you've done, Richard, and Ryan's done, and what other people have done.
I just rake the lumps off once in a while. And I guess what, guys? You know, I used to rake them. Used to be in the winter, around January, February. I'd start raking lumps of raking it, just kind of level it out a little bit. You know what I mean? Just clean it up. Then I take it and I throw it on my lawn in the wintertime.
Yeah, you throw all of it on the lawn.
Yeah, just the lumps.
Throwing it out. He lowered it down a bit to what was comfortable. And the lawn, how good does the lawn look in the summer? You won mega lawn awards. Go ahead, Leah. What else you got?
I think what Phil says sums it up perfectly. It's wet feces versus dry feces. And we're not talking about filling your loft with a bunch of wet poop that breeds bacteria and sickness. We're talking about dry litter. It's completely different, right?
I think what Phil's saying is right, and I'll go back to one time. I'm just going to totally change kind of the subject, but I work for a veterinarian. And he says to me, you know, Richard, I was, 16 years old. Mm-hmm. He said, people feed their dogs a lot of crap. And I don't want to mention any company names. But he said, a dog should be fed about maybe a 1/4 pound of good steak once a day. And I said, oh yeah. And he said, his name was Dr. Noel Smith in Oakville. And he'll be passed by now. And I said, oh yeah. And he said, you know what? He said, when that dog craps, it should be a piece that's about this long. Can you folks see that?
Yep.
And he said, you should be able to literally smoke it. Right? So what I'm saying is, that's what we're talking about. Go down here and feed the coyotes at night.
Yep.
The coyotes shit crap where I feed them. Again, little stubs like this, and it makes me think you should be able to smoke it. Which,
man, when your birds are right and they're feeling good, how are the droppings?
You should be able to pick them up and put them in your pocket
like marbles. That's it.
Right. They should have a little white cap on them.
Leah, we're feeling it tonight.
We're feeling
Guys,
it tonight.
remember, go to our YouTube channel and hit subscribe. Feathers Elite Pigeon Auctions.
No,
Leah, go with your next
this
question.
is a great conversation, and that's why I'm keeping it going, because I think there's a lot of people maybe interested in it, or I like the fact that people are engaged.
Thanks,
Shaquille is asking, do you put any vitamins in the water during winter?
I said before, I put apple cider vinegar.
He does apple cider vinegar. We use the Pigeon Power. We use a bit of that in the water. Again, more vitamins. I think we build them up when they're breeding. Yeah, we use it. Again, guys, you can overdo stuff a couple times a week. That's fine. You don't have to go over the moon with it. Again, with the grits and the minerals, the apple cider, maybe some omniform in the water, stuff like that. Mix it up a bit, and it's good. Again, in the winter, give your birds some greens. Yes, greens. Lettuce, kale.
Which maybe we'll talk about on our
another
next
day.
show.
All right. What else you got, Leah?
Chris Withers has a very good point. Do you know about pigeon lung disease in humans?
I think we have.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. Pigeon. That's deadly, and I don't think.
Actually, to be honest, my father Richard had a very good friend, Jim Groves, who we believe passed away from symptoms of pigeon lung disease.
Yeah, his lungs got plugged up. He couldn't. He got sick from the dander or the whatever.
The down,
And
the fluff.
yeah, and he couldn't go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then where would he be if he couldn't go to work? Didn't feel good. He was in the pigeon loft.
Mm-hmm.
You know, went in the pigeon loft. He was getting worse and worse. And then his lungs got plugged up. And
That was
That was it.
well, I said, Jim, come and fly with me. And he would come over
Mm-hmm.
and watch the birds and
Yeah.
whatever. And his lungs it was sad. Because the doctor said he's going to need a lung transplant. And Jim said, well, they had to wait for a donor, right?
Right.
So he waited. I guess he waited about 5 years to get a donor for this.
And it didn't happen.
And then the doctor said we got a donor here, right? They checked his lungs out, and the doctor said,
You know what I need?
Jim, your lungs are good. He said, you haven't had the birds, your lungs are good. Jim said, I've waited so long, I want to do it. And it's sad to say, but he went on the table.
Well, that's a sad story. He was your friend. Okay. Take a moment.
He died.
He died.
On that note, Mike Vanderyak said, PBL, pigeon breeder lung, is an allergy to the protein in the feather bloom. This is live, folks, and we are real people.
But I've had pigeons.
Pigeon
since
breeder
I was a
lung
boy.
is an allergy
That
to
was
the
nice.
protein in the feather bloom. Daily scraping does nothing to help it. We're real,
Okay.
folks, and
Yeah,
we
this is
give
real.
real answers, and we
Real
react
emotions.
Real.
It's all real
This
here.
isn't edited. It's all real, and this is how much I guess the pigeon sport and my father's pigeon friends mean to him, and it is a very it's very sad.
It's very sad.
Hey, what are you going to do?
That's right. That's right.
I've had birds ever since I was a boy. Now I'm 68. I'm strong as a bull still. I've had
And
lungs tested. I've had
yes, my dad is strong as a bull. He's had dry litter. He's had pigeons since he was a very, 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 very young boy. My brother has had pigeons, been exposed to pigeons, the pigeon loft, for 38 years. The minute he came out of my mother's womb, and
So I mean, if you're going to get it,
If you're going to get it, you're going to get it. It's one of those.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It's
it's a very unfortunate thing. I don't know enough about it. I'm sure Ryan doesn't know enough about it.
No,
Richard
no.
doesn't know enough. We're not experts in pigeon lung disease or how one contracts it or what to do to prevent it. I'm going to be honest. My father does not use a mask in the loft.
No.
Ryan does not use a mask in the loft. Perhaps they should. And I'm not going to say you shouldn't or should, or we're not here to give medical advice by any stretch of, we're not experts in that.
Yeah.
We're just saying what we do in our own loft.
And I would have to say, if you're a new person and you're watching this and you find when you get around pigeons you feel, I guess it's congested or something doesn't feel right, you may want to go look into that, because you may be allergic. I guess it's an allergic something. You're allergic to the dust, the down. You're allergic to it.
If I could say something, for example, people that live in Oakville, Burlington,
Right.
that they've done studies.
Mm.
And with the grindings off the tires on the 401, on the QEW, with the winds going down there, that the cancer rates are higher than people that live
North.
north
Right.
in Orangeville.
Mm.
So,
And they say it's from the rubber off the tires.
Right,
But
so-
but again, we're just now the door's open there.
yeah, we're going.
We're going
Yes,
down another
you can-
rabbit hole that we're not at all.
We're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
We're not all educated enough to even talk about pigeon lung disease. You guys have to do your own research and do what is best for you. On that note,
I know
let's do the raffle.
I know
We-
people,
Leah,
I know people that smoke cigarettes.
Let's. We're not going into this. We're letting Leah continue because we go around in a circle.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Leah.
Let's end this show because we've been on an hour and a half, which I think is a very long time. And thank you guys so much for all your comments.
No, you wanted to
We
show-
are going to do a raffle because on episode 2, we put everybody's name in the barrel who asked a question or made a comment. And we're going to, drum roll, we're going to draw a name. And that person is going to win a Pigeon Boss hat that Ryan has on. And let's
All right.
see who it is. Because we appreciate audience participation. We're going to do this for the next episode. So everybody who chimed in on this episode
On
is
our last
going to
episode,
get their name in the barrel.
Henry Radar.
Henry Radar, you have won. I don't know if you're tuned in, but you have won a Pigeon Boss hat for
Just like this one.
contributing to our show and being part of our community. Henry, let's show the hat there, Ryan, that he's going to
It's on my head. It's right here.
There you
Here
go.
for you. They're great.
Henry, you're
Again,
going to win a Pigeon Boss hat
adjustable.
for the next episode, episode number 4. We are going to draw names for everybody that commented. If we missed a comment, don't worry about it. We're still going to put your name in the barrel, and we will draw for another prize on the episode number 4. This has been a really, really great show.
Yeah.
It's getting better.
I think we
getting
could
better.
go on for hours.
We could go on for hours, and a lot of it, guys, has to do with you, the watchers, the subscribers. We want to thank you again. You can't thank you guys enough.
I hope the people that are starting
Find
are
us.
going to learn
Yeah.
a little bit.
A little bit.
It
little
takes
bit.
it takes time.
And there's nothing wrong with watching it 3-4 times over. That's how you learn. And I find sometimes I'll watch something, I watch it once, then I watch it again. I go, oh shit, I picked up more stuff. I watch it a third time. I go, shit, I missed that. And you know what, guys? We want to thank you again for tuning in. Leah, we're going to be up again.
We're building a little community here of talking, like we're at the Pigeon Club and talking back and forth and trying to help new people. And the older people, we would love for you to come in and mentor, like Guido's and the Dave Ottoways and, you know, the rest of them that I've probably forgotten about. But I love it, and that's great. And this is what
Yeah,
we're trying to
and-
do, is create a community where we can all talk amongst each other and put ideas back and forth and learn. This isn't a dirty secret. This isn't something that, you know, we should be afraid to ask. You should be able to ask whatever question you want, and we will do the best to answer them along with our friends who have now joined the community. That's it for me, I think. We're going to wrap this up.
You know what?
because
I'm
we've been
going to
on a
wrap
long
this
time.
up for Richard and myself. What we're going to do is we're going to build one hell of a good loft. That's what we're going to do. A loft of knowledge, a lot of different ideas. Again,
Yeah.
we thank you all. Leah, we'll be back on. When are we going to be back on? A couple days?
What's today? Sunday? Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday? We'll see how the
We're gonna-
schedule goes. We got lots to talk about, lots to cover. We haven't even talked about the Seagull and Miss San Diego, which we will get into
Another day.
where you guys are
Next.
going to follow along the breeding of Miss San Diego and the Seagull, which we will bring on episode number 4. You will see them. You'll be able to watch them pair and mate and breed and see the babies. And we're all going to follow along together.
Hey guys, thanks for flying with us. Remember, get some good bedding. Keep those birds dry. Keep that loft healthy. Keep that water clean. And keep enjoying those pigeons. That's Richard. I'm Ryan.
Good.
Leah, we're done here. Thanks for flying with us, guys. Bye for now.